All right, what's up, Bulldog? So little bit of sound problems, but we're here, and I have Marczell Klein here, and we're going to be talking about some interesting things. I met Marczell, and I was a little skeptical of some of the things that he was talking about at first. I took a look at his YouTube channel, and I was like, wow, that's some pretty cool stuff, and I agree with a lot of his take on mindset and all those things. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to have him on the channel and talk about especially about hypnosis, because this is one of those things that I've always been sort of fascinated in, and I've never really I've been a pretty big skeptic of. But I talked to Marczell a little bit, just over a Skype call, and we discussed it, and I was kind of fascinated by what he had to say. It was something that I had never really encountered before. So anyway, welcome, Marczell.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And to be fair, I was pretty skeptical the first time I heard about it, first time I saw it. And to be honest, for the first year that I was doing it, I just could not understand how it worked. So that's the reason I got so good at it. It's because I was so obsessed with trying to prove myself wrong that there's no way it would work. And obviously, you can only be ignorant for so long, and then realize that okay, obviously something's happening. Someone wasn't confident, now they're confident. Someone was scared of this, now they're not scared of this. And I even had a time where I had a lie detector test with one of my friends, and I hypnotized him to lie, pretty much change his identity. He's got a different name. He was from a different place, different school, and he was telling the truth on everything on the lie detector because he truly believed it. So
Mhm.
I mean, there's different tests you can do. For example, there's a really interesting test. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you take like a color, for example, like the color, like you have it says blue on it, and it's on yellow. So the writing of blue would be in, I don't know, let's say green. The the actual background will be yellow,
Mhm.
and it'll say blue. And then if you ask them, if you ask someone to go through it, just say, okay, what color is this? What color is this? What color is this? They'll mess up continuously because there's a lot of things going on at the same time. If you hypnotize someone to just see it in black and white, for example, or the words are blurry, they literally get 100% accuracy, and they finish it much quicker than someone who wasn't hypnotized. So there's a lot of things that show you that it not only alters perception, but it changes your physiology, your biology. That's why a biofeedback machine such as a lie detector would have a different result than it normally would, depending on what you obviously suggest while they're in hypnosis. So it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting what you said about that test, because that's something that that's a pretty good test, because you couldn't really fake it, because the person would not have the ability to do that. Like, they're being given an ability that they didn't have before. No matter how hard they
Exactly.
tried, they couldn't ace that test. But obviously there has to be something that's happening in order for a filter that's being put in place in order for them to actually accomplish that task. So that's, yeah, that's a good, I think that's a pretty solid argument for hypnosis.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I could just be making it up, right? So yeah, I would love to maybe even I'll probably take a video of it and then and post it and show you guys, some random person on the street and just do the test with them and have incentive like money if they were able to do this without hypnosis. That way people could see that it's not acting. But then again, how would you act unless you memorized it or went through it on your own? It'd have to be completely random, completely shuffled, completely, there's a lot of tests that you can do that would be very difficult to fake. Like for example, I put needles through people's hands. They're
Mhm.
terrified of needles. They could be faking that they're terrified of needles, but who the heck wants a needle through their hand? And then how would you not feel it, not even flinch? It just doesn't make sense unless something worked. But there's a lot of interesting tests. For example, there's an ice bath test where if
Mhm.
you put someone in an ice bath when they're under hypnosis, you can have them imagine it's a jacuzzi or just room temperature, and their body will not really react. They're going to be like, yeah, this is normal, and they'll be in it much longer than someone who would have just gone into something that's 33 degrees Fahrenheit or 34 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a lot of it's perception. I don't know. I mean, my main reason for using hypnosis is just to accelerate somebody's results in their mindset. But I was so skeptical about it because I'm very logical, very rational, I'm very scientifically oriented. So for me, it was important to see that I'm actually doing something that's real, not something that's fake or can be faked or pretend. And oftentimes, I could tell when someone's faking. I could tell when someone's not in trance because they're a lot slower. If
Mhm.
I tell you something and you're pretending, you're not going to respond as quickly because it's not unconscious. You have to think about it. So there's a lot of variables depending on whether or not someone's actually in it or someone's not in it. Something that you're an expert in, you don't think about. You don't think about typing or talking or communicating. And if I tell you to do something you've never done before, if you're not in hypnosis, it will take you much more time to perform that task and do it without messing up than it would if you were actually in hypnosis.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So you can tell if someone's faking it. Now, what about, we were talking about before, and I thought this was kind of fascinating because, I've always wanted to understand how it works, and you had some pretty good explanations for that. So, like, what is it that you're actually doing? Because I saw, you doing some demonstrations where, I mean, it was like pretty instantaneous. It's like you're just like snapping your fingers, touching someone's head, and then they're like going into a trance, and that was the
Yeah.
thing that seemed the most unrealistic to me. But what's happening, like when you're putting someone into these states, like how are you actually doing that? Like what's the science behind it?
Yeah. So what happens is throughout our day we're kind of on autopilot. You're
Mhm.
already in some kind of trance. You're not thinking about how you walk or how you talk or how to tie your shoes. It's like the first time you start driving, it's pretty stressful. I remember the first time I went to drive, I could not touch the radio or open the window. I was so overwhelmed because my conscious mind was just, your conscious mind can only process about 150 bits of information every second, and you can unconsciously process about 100 or 50 million bits versus 150. So your subconscious mind is obviously a lot more powerful. And whenever you overwhelm the conscious mind with too much information, the subconscious mind will kick in. For example, and the reason that happens is for example, let's say I'm on the street and a bus is about to hit me. I'm not going to sit there and think, okay, how fast is that bus going? What do I do next? Where should I move? And then tell myself to move. I'll already be hit by the bus. So you unconsciously respond to things and you move. So what I do is I try to overwhelm the conscious mind in some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. You can do it through confusion. You could do it through boredom, where you just relax and zone out. You could do it through a shock, which is a lot of what you see me doing, it's just shock inductions. And then what happens then is when you overwhelm that part of your mind, you become very suggestible. And the suggestions I tend to give at that moment would be something along the lines of, sleep or relax. Like if I don't say sleep and I just say you're stuck at that moment, you're stuck to the ground, they'll be stuck to the ground. The reason I snap is because I'm trying to make an unconscious association to every time I snap, a suggestion becoming their reality. At the beginning, it's not going to work. If I just snap and I say, you forgot your name, it's not going to happen. But if
Mhm.
I snap multiple times, every time I kind of bypass the part of your mind that's stopping me from hypnotizing you, every time I bypass this filter, right? It's called the critical faculty. Every time I bypass that and I give you a suggestion, it's going to land in your subconscious mind. So if I snap my fingers every time I bypass that, it's going to create an unconscious association or trigger that every time I snap, I bypass that part of the mind, and every suggestion I give you is your reality. So that's the only reason you'll hear a hypnotist snap, unless they're stupid and they just do it for show. Because most hypnotists don't really know what they're doing. They just kind of do it because this is what works, but they don't know why it works, and they have a hard time explaining it. I can explain it to you, and I can tell you in theory what would work, what wouldn't work, why it would work, why it wouldn't work, because I've done it so many times. And I've learned from so many different people. My one thing that I don't like about other hypnotists is that there's a lot of limiting beliefs behind it. For example,
Mhm.
you can't hypnotize someone, who doesn't want to be hypnotized, and you can't force someone to be hypnotized. And to an extent, that's true. If you look at it through, I'm like, I'm going to hypnotize you, and you're like, you're not going to do it. Yeah, okay. If I just directly try and hypnotize you and you're resistant, it's not going to happen. But if I use what's already controlling you, things you're already responding to get you into trance, obviously I'm going to get you into trance. But most people don't think outside the box, and I think that goes for anything. A lot of the times we have problems in our lives that we're stuck with because we think that there's only one way to get there. The truth is there are hundreds, if not thousands, of ways to go about any situation and still achieve the same outcome. There isn't just one road to a specific outcome. There are thousands of roads, and if you're blind to it, you're never going to get as good as you want to be at something. So that's one of my principles: is that always be flexible with the way you go about something. Everyone responds differently. You respond to something differently than what I would, and someone else who's watching this. So I find out what that person responds to, and I use what they respond to help them get the outcomes they desire.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like the way I'm thinking about it now is it's almost like, in fact, I guess we talked about this a little bit because it reminds me a lot of NLP, since I guess NLP was based off of hypnosis, right? Like the idea of
Yes.
anchoring, like like the snap is like an anchor, right? Because it's and then the whole idea of like pattern interrupts, where, I know when I went to Tony Robbins' seminar, he did that a lot, like the pattern interrupt people by doing some kind of crazy thing that throws you off out of your, and
Yeah, I
then
mean,
all of a sudden.
like when you're smelling popcorn and you can't really
Mhm.
tell the difference between what I just did and what I just said. Anyways, go on.
I see. Okay.
Right, it's a pattern interrupt.
Right. Yeah. And then if you string a few of those things together, then by the time I'm still thinking about the first thing you said, and then you've moved on to the second one, and yeah,
Because I
it
overwhelmed your conscious mind, your subconscious mind had to kick in, and then I could just start to give suggestions at that moment,
right,
right?
right.
Because
Yeah,
your guard's down. When you're talking and I'm just responding to a normal conversation, your guard will be down. If you're expecting a pattern interrupt, it's not really a pattern interrupt, right?
right,
Like if you're expecting me to interrupt you and I don't interrupt you, that's more of a pattern interrupt than if you not expecting me to interrupt you and then I interrupt you. So pattern interrupt is pretty much just whatever you expect, I don't do it.
right. Okay,
That
okay.
that
That makes sense.
and
And
then
then
at that
the
moment you could
uh
become confused.
right. And so it's like it's almost like you're hacking into the brain, like the subconscious, like you're finding this root exploit where you're able to like get in there, and then you're planting this suggestion which allows you to get in there whenever you need to. Like once you've gotten access to it, then because you've got that triggered response, now you can just snap your finger and you're back in there. It's like you're getting root access again
Yeah,
to the
I'll give you an
yeah.
example. I saw a podcast with Darren Brown, who's one of the world's most famous mentalists and hypnotists. He's
Mhm.
super famous in the UK. I love him. He's one of my favorite entertainers on the planet, especially in this field. And he's done many different experiments where he hypnotizes someone, for example, to kill someone else and or rob a bank, and he gets the outcome, right? Obviously, it's fake. Like it's fake in the sense that they're not actually doing those things, but they don't know that it's fake. It's planned and staged accordingly. Anyways, um, he was talking on the podcast how there was a time where he was about to get into an altercation or a fight, and he used a pattern interrupt to make that person stick to the ground, and then he calmed them down, and then it kind of went from there. And ironically, like 2 days later, I was at a party. I was on a date with a girl, and we're leaving, and I parked next to this alley, and
Uh,
someone was approaching me pretty aggressively, and they said, "What are you looking at?" And immediately I said, "Yeah, it's not 7:30, but the walls at my house are 4 feet tall." And it was so interesting. When I was in Spain, they were 10 feet tall. You're stuck to the ground. And when I came back home, I realized that I was so stuck to the ground that I couldn't move from where I was, and I was just completely relaxed. I just calmed down. I was relaxed. I was stuck, and I forgot about everything that was happening. I just kind of walked away, and the guy just stood there for about a minute and a half until I left. I don't know what happened after that, but he just stood there, and
yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. But because what are you expecting, right? Like when someone's coming to fight you, what are they expecting? When you say, "What are you looking at?" It's either
Right.
you're going to become scared or you're going to become aggressive, right?
Right.
And then they have a pattern for both. He'll become more aggressive, or he'll calm down, or he'll just become belligerent. Who knows? So I just interrupted that by saying something that is out of context. It makes sense, but it's super out of context. Like it's not 7:30 makes sense if you were to ask me what time it is. But in that
Right.
context, it makes absolutely no sense and it confuses the mind. So because now your conscious mind is looking and searching for that meaning, your subconscious mind will respond to that the way it normally would on autopilot. And now I hijack that part of your mind and I use it to then influence you in a specific way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting. That makes it, and it's so funny because when you say that, like, you know, I feel it happening real time, right? It's like I'm still processing that thing that you say, especially when you direct it at me, and it's like I'm still going backwards trying to process that, and I can feel that like subroutine automatically executing, to respond to these kind of situations, which it's not intuitive. Like you wouldn't think that this would be something that you'd possibly be able to do, but I think it's pretty interesting to
And
like see it.
it's so simple
Yeah.
too. Anybody could do it. It's not like this is complicated. It's just being aware of the things that you weren't aware of before. I'll give you another
Right.
example. And this is a really common example of what a pattern interrupt looks like, where someone's kind of taking over your mind temporarily. You're texting someone while someone's talking to you, and all of a sudden you write down what they said. It's
Right.
because you turn on this program for texting, and instead of focusing on what you were saying, that person's talking to you. It becomes the voice in your head now. It becomes the thing programming your mind. Because okay, it's like okay, let's turn this program on, and now you give yourself instruction. You're like, okay, I'm gonna text someone, and then that voice in your head says, I'm gonna text them this, this, and this. But if you say I'm gonna text someone, and while you say that to yourself, someone starts talking to you, you end up typing what they were telling you, and you weren't even aware that you did it
Right. Exactly.
because you
Yeah. Yeah.
hijacked the pattern.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, because our brains have to be able to deal with so much data. It's like you have all these subroutines that execute automatically. Like walking is a subroutine because you're not thinking about every step and where you're putting your foot, and your mind is, I mean, you could be talking, have a conversation, doing something else, looking somewhere else, and your feet will still walk, and they're doing a shit ton of work. I mean, your brain is doing to process the terrain and the angle and the step and all the gravity. Like that's a lot of calculations that's happening that you're
On
unaware of.
autopilot.
Yeah.
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 And that's the thing, we're on autopilot 99% of the time. So it's funny to me because most people don't realize how easily influenced they are. When you don't feel confident enough to approach somebody, or you don't feel confident enough to go make more money or make a sale or pursue the things you want, it's not that you're not confident enough to do it. It's that you were literally influenced to feel that way. Because when you're born, there's only two things you're worried about. It's the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else is learned. And anything
Right.
that can be learned can easily be unlearned. The thing is, who taught it to you? What, did your parents impose limiting beliefs? Was it someone on TV that said something? Was it your teacher? Was it a friend? Was it a bully? Did someone say something to you that you then gave a bunch of meaning to, created a belief about it? Now it's impacting your life every single day. And that's what people don't understand, is that you were never not confident. You just learned what it meant to be to not be
Yeah.
confident. And it's not that you're not confident. You're confident in the fact that you're not confident because you believe it. You're so certain that you're not confident that you're not confident. It doesn't even make sense. And that's what I try to help people understand. I try to accelerate the time it takes to change, because the truth is change happens in an instant. Anytime you have ever changed in your life, it was a moment where you realized something and there was a decision that you said, you know what, I'm going to change. And whether it's a negative change or a positive change, it doesn't matter. There's always a moment. So what I try to do is, instead of you waiting 10 years to get to that moment where you finally have an aha and you're like, oh, I'm going to change, I try to minimize the time it takes you to get there into minutes and seconds, and then give it to you right then and there. So instead of holding on to a belief, which is literally just a belief, I allow you to let go of that belief and go into another belief system that will be more efficient and more effective for you to reach your goals.
Now, okay, so this kind of brings me to the kind of, I think there's probably two things. Like, so everything you've explained from a technical standpoint, as far as like hypnosis working, to me logically makes sense, right? But empirically, like looking at, I suppose maybe not empirically is the word, but essentially there's two elements that I could think of that could challenge, hypnosis from a practical standpoint. One of
Yeah,
them,
go ahead.
okay, is if hypnosis works, why not just hypnotize yourself, or have someone hypnotize you to like become as confident as possible, to become super productive, right? I mean, pick up all those things, to lift more
You
weights at the
should.
gym, right? Like
100%.
okay, would that
Yeah.
work then? Like I could
Yeah, I
just
mean,
pick.
100%. I do that all the time. The only reason it wouldn't work is because you either went to a hypnotist who says they're qualified and has done this for 30, 40 years, but they suck, because that's literally 99% of hypnotists. And that's why I think people don't use that as a main way of getting better. A lot of people do use it. If you see it, there's a lot of studies that show that hypnosis is extremely effective. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most effective things you can do to change. It's just most hypnotists use one method because they're not flexible and they themselves aren't confident enough to get things done. So they hold on to this, this ego of, oh, I'm so good because I've done this for so long and I went to this school and I learned from this person and whatever. And then you look at the results and the results are okay, right? But it's scary to me that a hypnotist can get you more results than a psychologist who's highly trained. You
Right.
go see a hypnotist for smoking, and this is like a bad hypnotist. It takes you 6, 7, 8, 10 sessions to quit smoking, or 10 sessions to start losing a lot of weight, right? It should take you 30 seconds if you know what you're doing. It should take you 1 minute if you know what you're doing. It just, most hypnotists suck, like most psychologists, like most doctors. There's always the top 1% who are good. But a lot of people believe that because someone has a specific title or a specific education, or they went to a specific school, that they have some kind of credibility, right? Because no one knows what you know and no one knows what you don't know. And that's the biggest problem people have, is that they assume people know more than they do.
Okay, so if
And
you
then,
took just one problem that guys have, right? So a lot of guys that I coach and whatnot, they are afraid to talk to women, right? So they're afraid to
mhm.
open. So could you take someone like that, give them a suggestion that you're as confident, like you have no problem talking to any woman that you find attractive at any time, and then would that permanently affect them? Would that
Yeah, permanently.
temporarily, like?
Yeah, instantly. No, permanently. I've done that so often. I mean, ironically, it's one of the easiest things to do, is to create confidence.
Mm,
Because automatically when you're going into hypnosis, you're already becoming more relaxed, right? And all
right,
confidence is feeling really comfortable. So if you can already put someone in a relaxed state, they're already going to feel more confident automatically, because you're more relaxed, right? When you're anxious and stressed, how are you going to be so confident when you're nervous or you're in fight or flight? So immediately it
right.
relaxes them and allows them to be more rational and logical. And then the next thing it does is it gets rid of any beliefs associated to it, right? So when someone's not confident, they're not focusing on the fact that they can't talk to someone. They're focusing on the fact that they're going to get rejected, that the person's not going to like them, that they're not going to have anything to say, right? And these thoughts create specific emotions in the body,
Mhm.
which then prevent them from moving forward. What if you could change the things they're focusing on, right? Instead of focusing on her not liking you or her, rejecting you or it not being fun and it's stressful, you're focusing on how fun it's going to be, how it's going to be hysterical, whether she rejects you or not, whether she's going to like you, right? You're just focusing on the fact that you're going to get a phone number, you can get an Instagram, she's going to appreciate you. That's what I think about. I just think about how fun it's going to be when I go up to her, whether she rejects me or not. I actually hope they reject me because I think it's funny, it's entertaining. And most
Right.
people put it on a pedestal. When there's a lot of emotion around a specific outcome, you're going to create that outcome. Like if I assume that she's going to reject me before I go up to her and I make that a big deal to me, what I'm really highlighting is some insecurity I have. Like, okay, if she rejects me, it means what? For me, it means it's funny. I think she's just, it's just funny to me. For them, it might be I'm not good enough, or I'm not attractive, or I'm not lovable, or some kind of unconscious belief that then gets triggered, which creates that feeling of rejection. To be honest, if you don't go up to them, it's the same outcome. You got rejected anyways. So logically speaking, it doesn't really make sense that they can't go up to them. It's just about changing what they focus on and highlighting whatever insecurity they have. The insecurity is that they're not good enough, they're not lovable, they're not
Right.
attractive, they're whatever it may be. If I change that and I get them to focus on how amazing they are, and instead of them focusing on them getting rejected because they weren't good enough, they start to become, they think differently. If I get rejected, I think I get rejected because I'm too good, right? Now, whether it's true or not doesn't really matter. It's just what belief serves you the most in that situation. And to me, that belief serves me a lot more because I walk away, I laugh, I feel good. It doesn't bother me, you know.
Yeah.
But if I hold on to a negative belief, it's going to affect me in a negative way.
That's interesting. I've always told people that you should have effective beliefs, not true beliefs, because true beliefs, it doesn't really matter if a belief is true. It matters whether it's effective or not.
It's
Just like
always
Dumbo's
true if it's
feather,
true to you.
right? Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like
it's true to
Dumbo's
you, but it's
feather
not actually
was
real.
right.
Exactly.
So,
Where you can
but
fly with a feather, right?
yeah, it wasn't true, but it was effective. So it made it.
Yeah.
It was good for him to hold that belief rather than holding a true belief, which would have limited him. But even in that case, so what you said also are definitely things that I apply when I'm coaching guys in that area. But you're talking about giving them all those attributes instantaneously, and that's the part that I'm a little bit skeptical of, because I guess the biggest question is like, why wouldn't everyone just do this, right? Why wouldn't, if it's so effective, why wouldn't everyone just go to a hypnotist and say, okay, I'm going to just get my confidence 100%, get my motivation level 100%, all of these attributes, so they could basically craft the perfect personality for themselves. And then, like, why wouldn't we have like
Yeah.
all these people doing it?
Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, once you have had a problem for so long, you're so invested in the fact that this is who you are, you start to identify with it. Like people can
Okay.
actually overcome their problem. I've worked with guys, they become confident. They go out, they're in the zone, they feel good, they're talking to people, and then the next day they're like, oh, I can't do it again. Right? Because
Right.
the problem is they get the change, but they've identified with the problem. So then their brain will be like, well, this isn't serving me, the problem is. Everything we do in our mind at some level is everything we do, we believe will help us in some way, shape, or form. So
Correct.
you not being confident is serving you, and it might have served you at one point, but it's not serving you now, right? So it's about being able to change these beliefs as you go. But people have a hard time believing that they could change and that they could change quickly. All change happens quickly. If right now someone were to put a gun to the least confident person's head and say, if you don't go up to that person and say hi to them, I'm going to take your life and your family's life. I don't care who it is. They're going to get up and they're going to go do it.
Right.
Because there's an emotion that's strong enough to get them to act. But most people either don't have the want to go empower themselves and become confident, because there's two things that motivate us: pain and pleasure. You're either going to go away from pain or towards pleasure. Now, pain and pleasure aren't necessarily things that we think they are. You could have grown up in an abusive household, but because you know it, that's pleasure for you. And anything you don't know is pain, because you don't know it. You can't predict it. Your mind isn't programmed to make you happy. It's programmed to make you survive. And that's the thing people don't understand, is that because you've survived up until now with the beliefs you currently have, it's going to be difficult to change those beliefs, because at some level you're going to think you're going to die if you change them. It's risky. I've never tested these beliefs out, so therefore I can't actually utilize them. Now, what people don't understand as well is that from age 0 to 8, your brain is in theta. You're absorbing languages quickly. You're learning behavior. You're emulating patterns from your parents, from everyone you're looking at. That's because you're in hypnosis. Hypnosis is theta. If I were to put a biofeedback machine on somebody's mind
Mhm.
and I were to hypnotize them, they would go from beta, which is the waking state we're in all the time, into theta. Theta is hypnosis. So if we're in theta when we were programmed, why can't we put people back into theta to be reprogrammed? And that's the logic behind it. So what people don't understand is that they're trying to change in beta. You weren't programmed in beta, so it's going to be very difficult to change in beta. You know, why don't you go into a state where you're more able to change, more open to change, right? The state that your brain is literally programmed to be in when you're ready to change, which is hypnosis. People just don't call it that. And that's why change happens quickly when you use hypnosis. I'm literally using the thing that programmed you to reprogram you instead of doing what, and the reason psychologists and psychiatrists don't like it, and the reason they barely teach it in school, and I think it's hysterical to me, is because who runs school? Pharmaceutical industries. I can't be saying this, right? This is illegal for me to say. I don't care. I'm going to say it because of the truth. Pharmaceutical industries are literally there not to make you get better, but to make a lot of money off of you. How do they
Right.
make money? You keep taking pills. Oh, you're depressed, you have anxiety. Let me keep giving you pills. I'll just keep giving you pills. Oh, now you have a pill for this. Let me give you another pill for that. A psychiatrist will sit with you for less than 40 minutes and tell you have this problem, that problem, and that problem. Who
Exactly.
have you ever learned? And how do you know someone in 30 minutes or less? I've never met someone who can just know somebody in 30 minutes or less. You can't. You can't get to know someone in 30 minutes and tell them that you're going to be on pills the rest of your life. It doesn't make sense to me. And that's the thing, is because big pharma has a huge influence on the education system and the curriculum that's taught, we're not going to teach hypnosis because we're not going to teach people that they could change their life like that. They don't need a medication. They don't need a pill. And how do you know pills are actually working? Well, the truth is, the only reason a pill works is because by definition, you have a neurotransmitter in your brain, and then
Mhm.
there's a receptor. Your brain doesn't produce extra receptors or extra transmitters. There's a certain amount because you have a certain amount of chemicals. So if I'm taking, let's say, serotonin pills, right? Pills that give me serotonin. Well, there has to be receptors in my mind that will accept them or they won't work.
Right.
They won't work if I don't have these receptors. So by definition, if I have these receptors, I also naturally produce the right amount of serotonin. I just haven't learned how to access it. So people need to learn which chemicals do what. For example, serotonin is a sense of confidence. It's status. That's what that emotion is. Serotonin gives you a sense of status. The more successful I become, the more beautiful of a girl I'm with, the better I look, the more status I believe I have, the more serotonin will be released. Dopamine is that chemical that doesn't, it's not that makes you happy, it's that it motivates you to keep moving forward, which then gives you
Right.
more status. So serotonin and dopamine will be fired off at the same time. You look at chemicals like oxytocin. Oxytocin is about it's a chemical for love and connection. You shake someone's hand, when you hug them, when you get a crush, there's a lot of oxytocin going on there, right? And whenever we don't get it, we feel pain. We feel pain because our brain is now addicted to the chemicals that were released in our brain. We're like, shit, we need more of that. Now, what's funny is that dopamine is the chemical that makes you addicted to something. Oxytocin is the chemical that actually inhibits dopamine. So for anyone who's addicted to alcohol or to a specific drug or to porn or whatever they're addicted to, if you get connection by becoming more confident, immediately you're
Mhm.
going to inhibit that dopamine and you're not going to feel addiction, because oxytocin is a dopamine inhibitor. They did a study with rats, right? And what they did is it's called the rat park experiment. And a lot of psychologists will discredit it, but they can't discredit it. They're just discrediting it because they're ignorant. And just because they have a name that they're a psychologist or a scientist, the results are the results, and they can say whatever the fuck they want about it. They're just idiots. I honestly, just because someone's a doctor or a scientist doesn't mean I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to look at
Yeah.
the results first. I always tell people, don't believe me, believe my results. My results are my credibility. That's all.
Sure.
That's the most important thing. So what they did in this study is they took a rat and they put it in a cage and they gave it cocaine water with cocaine, and regular water. And it almost always preferred the water with the cocaine. And these other, sociologists came and they looked at it and they're like, okay, something's wrong with this experiment, because the rats alone, it's not, simulating everyday life where people can connect and interact and do fun things. So they took this rat out and they brought a bunch of other rats and made a huge park, literally like a paradise for rats, with colorful balls and toys and connection and games. And what they found is that the rats that had all this connection and all this fun almost always preferred regular water over the cocaine water.
Interesting. Okay.
And what that shows us is that the way to get over addiction, right, depression, is through connection, human interaction. We're social animals. That's in our very being. but most people have fear of being social. And if you're scared to do the very thing that makes you happy and fulfilled, how are you ever going to be really happy or really fulfilled? And that's where confidence lies in. That's why I truly believe, and you talked to me about this earlier too, is that we believe
Yeah.
confidence is the foundation to all success and happiness.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I mean, so then, I mean, it really sounds like that anyone should really do that. I mean, well, I guess here's a good question: have you? I don't know if you can hypnotize yourself. It seems like something that
Oh,
that
of
would
course you can.
be
Of course you can.
okay.
100%.
Like,
Yeah, I'll talk about that right now if you want.
okay, yeah, yeah. So have you hypnotized yourself for like confidence for all the things that you like, however you could improve yourself as much as possible to accelerate that improvement rather than
Yeah. So hypnosis is taking you from one reality into another, right? That's pretty much
Mm,
the most basic definition I can give you. It's from taking you from one belief system into another belief system. And when you think a certain thing or you focus on a certain thing, you feel a certain emotion, right? There are chemicals that are released in your brain. For example,
right.
if I'm sitting in a movie theater and I'm watching a scary movie and I hear a fire alarm go off, and I associate, all of a sudden some guy's coming in with a gun, he's gonna come kill me. Not that it's real, but if I just imagine that, I'm gonna feel kind of stressed. My hands are gonna start sweating. It hasn't happened, but I imagine it happening, right? So I
Mm,
just hypnotize myself to think about an alternate reality. What hypnosis is it's a natural state of mind. It's a phenomenon that's always happening, whether you're aware of it or not. If you've ever had a crush and you've thought about someone, you thought about going out with them, and all of a sudden, every song you hear starts to remind you of them.
mhm,
Everywhere you go, you're like, what if I was with them? That thought spinning in your mind, you're hypnotizing yourself to become addicted to this reality that hasn't yet happened. And now
right.
you see this person and there's a huge emotion. They're just there. But you created a whole future, a whole bunch of experiences that never actually happened. So instead of just doing it for a crush, why don't you do it for your confidence, for your success? Like the law of attraction is completely based off of hypnosis. What is the law of attraction? It's to imagine
Right.
yourself getting the things you want in your life. And what happens when you start to feel those things, when I'm feeling them, I'm programming my nervous system. My nervous system is literally experiencing that emotion. Now, the truth about emotion is that everything's just information that goes through the mind and then is processed and then we give it meaning. So whether your mind sees it in reality or imagination, it's still going to program the nervous system. Now, if I
Right.
program my nervous system for confidence by imagining what it would be like for me to be confident, to be successful, to get anyone I want, whether it's real or not, my mind is literally going through it. Right. So what self hypnosis is to see yourself the way you want to be, see the outcomes you desire, think about the feelings you want to feel, and really get good at feeling them. If you can't do it, it's because you haven't practiced. Everything requires
Mhm,
practice. You don't just go to the gym and have a six pack. You don't just go to the gym and have a good mindset. The mindset I have or you have, we've worked on for years.
yeah.
But I practice. You're probably hypnotizing yourself all the time and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, no, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's true. It reminds me a lot of what you're talking about of a book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He
I
was a
know the book.
plastic surgeon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it lines up. He had a concept called the theater of the mind, right? And I do that a lot. In fact, I think when I first really transformed my life, because I completely ended up transforming my life. The key factor was waking up one morning and thinking, why not me? And then basically envisioning the future version of myself, who I wanted to be, and then pretending to be that person until I actually became that person. And that
You see,
was, yeah.
that's the key to success. It's not that you pretended to be that person. You
Mhm.
genuinely became that person. What happens is you look at an actor that's method acting, right? Method acting is
Right.
truly feeling the emotion as if you're there. If I cry because I just went through something traumatic as an actor, are the chemicals still being released in my body and my mind that make me feel the pain, that make tears come out of my eyes? Of course they are. But it's
Sure.
this identity I have that it's not real that allows me to go back to another belief system. So when you're being hypnotized, if you can change yourself at the identity level, when you start to pretend to be someone else, what you're really doing is you're starting to believe that you are that person. And
Right.
that person starts to think differently. And because emotions are associated to emotion, right? Beliefs create emotion. Emotion creates action. You will never do anything, not even blink or shake someone's hand without an emotion. Emotion
Exactly.
drives all behavior, all behavior. So if I have the wrong thoughts, I'm gonna have the wrong emotions, I'm gonna take the wrong actions. For example, if I'm thinking about why my life is so shitty, I'm gonna feel unmotivated because, well, I'm never gonna get what I want in my life. I'm not gonna want to move forward. But if I start to imagine myself having massive success, massive amounts of confidence, an amazing relationship, all of a sudden I'm going to have different emotions. I'm going to get up and I'm going to feel motivated. I'm going to take different actions. I'm going to work on myself. And before I know it, that thing that I was imagining, I start to become. You become who you believe you are because you take the actions necessary to create that reality. And people don't get that. They think that they can just wake up, think the same way, do the same things, and have this different outcome. If I keep walking into a wall every single day, I'm going to continue to hit the wall. But if
Yeah.
I look at the wall and realize it's a door, there's a door handle, I open it, I walk out, the world's different. But most people are stuck in this box because they don't know how to change the way they think. All I do is I help people go from one way of thinking into another way of thinking, which then results in a huge chain reaction of different actions, different beliefs, different emotion, which has completely different outcomes. You know, it's like a plane. You notice a plane from New York is 1 degree off. One will end up in Hawaii, one will end up in Alaska, you know? So just by having something 1 degree off, you can have a huge difference over time. So you may not notice the difference today, but if you start to
Right.
imagine yourself being confident, taking small steps towards that, the difference in 5 years or 10 years is going to be massive compared to where you would be if you continue to think the same way. And I think everyone who watches your channel wants that. They want to get better, they just don't know how. Well, start with this.
Exactly.
Think about who you need to be to get what you want and imagine what they would feel like. Imagine what they would do and start working towards that. Start bridging the gap of who you are today and who you want to become. Who you want to become is who you need to be right now. And that is the principle of all success. Anyone who's ever succeeded saw themselves there, succeeding, felt it before they got there. And that's what drove them to it.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's exactly the way that I teach people to transform their lives and how I transform my life. And it's, I mean, it's so powerful when you start doing that. And it's just those small, like you said, the 1% better every day type of, and it stacks up and grows exponentially. But
It's
one thing,
exponential, exactly.
yeah. But one thing still I think that I'm still having trouble with, because I agree with everything you've said, right? Like, I mean, this is,
Yeah.
definitely like we're in alignment as far as mindset here, 100%.
Yeah.
But it comes down to now I have to ask the difficult question, which I'm struggling with is, well, and I'm torn on it, right? Because it's like, why do all the work that you're describing here that I've done myself, that I've helped men do, when they could just get hypnotized and just get the results instantly, right? It's almost like I'm torn by asking that question, because on one sense, like, I feel like there's something missing if you were to do that. But from a pragmatic standpoint, I have to say, well, okay, if it is that effective, then shouldn't I do it regardless of if I'm going to miss out on the personal growth that I'd go through going the longer way? Like, what's your take on that? And is that true?
So I'll give you an example, and I see where you're coming from. Just because you have an instant change in your mindset, your life isn't going to change right away. Like, I now change and I believe that I'm going to be a millionaire. Will $1 million fall in my lap just because I believe that now? No. I still have to create the journey and the process. The only difference is I'm going to get out of my own way now and make it much easier for me to get there. Like, imagine not wanting to go to the gym and not wanting to eat healthy. So every time I go work out, I then eat a fucking cheesecake. And instead of losing weight, I just delete everything I did at the gym because I can't even follow a diet. So they come to me and I put it in alignment with their goals. So all of a sudden, when they go to the gym, they come home, they eat properly, and they continue to make progress. And before they know it, they get to where they want to go. So all I do, it's not like I just snap my fingers and your life has changed.
Right.
All I'm doing is I get you into the best mindset quickly, because this can't happen quickly, to get you the best results quickly. It's not like all of a sudden I snap my fingers and you're rich, or, okay, now you're confident. Great. Does that mean you know how to talk to girls? Have you had the experience? Have you gone on dates? You'd probably be better off when you're not confident than being not confident, but you still have to get the experience. You're still going to have to go out and take the action. It's not just like I snap my fingers and now you have it. Now, when it comes to an addiction or a habit, obviously I could change that instantly. You smoke, I can get rid of that immediately. Immediately I can get rid of like things like that. But when it comes down to results, regardless of what you believe, it's not going to fall on your lap. You still have to go do it. You still have to get it. So you have to remember that just because they change their mindset, it doesn't mean that instantaneously they miss out on the journey. All it does is accelerate their progress, because now they're not going to sabotage or get in their own way. I truly believe success is easy if you have the right mindset. Something that's easy for me may not be easy for someone else because we believe it differently. It used to be impossible for me to go to the gym and be on a diet because I'm like, fuck, it is so hard for me to eat. I love food and I just can't keep my calories. So what I do, I
Yeah.
hired a private chef. He makes me the most delicious meals. I'm full. I can't even finish it. And they're like 500 calories. And I've lost like 4% body fat in 2 weeks. It's like, wow, this is so easy. It's just because I was doing the wrong things. Everything is easy if you do it correctly. We just make our lives harder because we believe that things are difficult. But it's just
Okay.
about changing the way you see it. Now, being hypnotized, all I'm doing, right, when I hypnotize people, is I believe it is a shortcut to your mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
changing your
Mm-hmm.
mindset quickly is a shortcut to your outcomes. So, for example, if you have a limiting belief that you can't make money this way, you can't do that way, you can't sell this way, and I just make you more confident, you already have the knowledge in your mind. You've already seen people do it, but you weren't confident enough to copy them or try it out. So now, if you're confident enough to do it, it appears as if you've had all this crazy success instantly, this crazy transformation. You already had the knowledge. You already had it in your mind somewhere. It's not like it just appeared. And now that you have the confidence to go after it and utilize the things you now know, that's why you have such a dramatic change in somebody's life. Like you already know what it's like to not smoke. You already know what it's like to go to the gym. You already know what it's like to eat properly. You just don't have
Right.
the ability to tap into that. So I just tell people tap into the things they can already do,
Okay.
if that makes
That
sense.
makes more sense now. So it's almost like, I guess I could kind of equate it to if I were sitting in a really good sales presentation, like a timeshare sales presentation, and they convinced me of believing that this was a really good investment or whatever it was, like a really good salesperson or even just a really compelling piece of evidence or a really good book you read that finally changed your mindset and made you believe this thing. That's just one step. You're just changing the mindset. Now you have this belief, or you've gotten rid of some limiting belief, some barrier, some blockade, and now it's still up to you. Like, for example, I guess I could say, like, to test if I understand this, you could hypnotize someone and you could give them the suggestion. So now they believe that they are God's gift to women. They're good with women, but they'll have that belief then, and they'll go out and they'll act like they have that belief. But if they don't actually have the skills, regardless of having that belief, it's not going to work. They're going to look like an idiot, but they won't think they look like an idiot. They'll think that they're succeeding and doing great because they're believing that belief at that
Now,
point. So they
now
still have
this
to do the
is
work.
now this is where So yes,
Mm,
and this is where it gets different though. With that
okay.
belief, are you more likely to have more success or less likely, right? Because if you believe
Yep.
that you're God's gift to women and a woman starts to give you a shit test or disrespect you, what
Right.
would you do?
Yeah,
You
you're
wouldn't
gonna.
take it, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. So
so by default, you're automatically going to start doing the right things without even thinking about it, right?
right,
Like when someone is practicing game or practicing dating, what they're trying to do is they're trying to emulate the behavior of someone who already has the belief. So if
right,
I could just
right,
give someone that belief, they will automatically emulate the behavior. Now there'll be times where they fuck up. For example, if they're texting a girl, she seems interested, but she's playing games with him. He wouldn't know that unless he knew what games were, unless he knew
right.
what it's like when she's stringing you along, unless he knew what it's like when a girl's about to flake. And that's where experience comes in or coaching comes in. It's to shorten it's to learn from other people's mistakes. But if I can give you the belief system, you'll automatically, with the right knowledge, do the right things. Instead of focusing on how to talk to someone or how to approach them or how to have boundaries, you
Hmm.
automatically will have that because you have the belief that you are God's gift to women, as an example, right?
Now what?
And that's, I think, the dramatic difference between just having the belief and what the belief causes you to have after.
Now, what about discipline? Like, so for example, use the instance of going to the gym or eating the right diet. So if you hypnotize someone to say that they love going to the gym and eating healthy, it seems like that's not enough because even you had to hire a personal chef. So they still like, I mean, I guess,
So
well, this is the
I'll
question
tell you
is
what
like,
happened.
okay,
Yeah. So it's not that it's not easy. It's that you have to enjoy it. And
mhm,
everything, like, for example, for someone who has a six pack and is ripped, it's not easy for him to go eat like a fast food burger. He's gonna feel gross.
right,
Like it's not easy for him to break his diet or not go to the gym. He won't feel good about it. So if I
right,
could switch your paradigm into that paradigm, right? Because it's easy for you to not go to the gym. It's easy for you to eat like shit in one belief system. When you change a
right,
belief system, it gets easier, right? I invested in a coach, a personal trainer. I invested in a private chef. You don't have to do that. I just have the resources that allowed me to do that. I'm all about personal development and investing in myself. So I always do. I not only talk about it and do it, I do it myself. I have so many coaches that I work with coaches all the time. I have a vocal coach. I have all kinds of coaches. And my point is that makes it easier because I'm taking someone who already is doing it, who already knows all about it, and they're helping me, make it happen. So
Right.
it's about finding a way to do it that's easy. You don't have to do it the way I do it. You don't have to do it the way you do it
No,
or
no.
that anyone else is doing it. Find what you think would be an easy way of doing it and get it done. Going to the gym doesn't have to be hard. Believe it or not, most people think going to the gym is about doing 500 push-ups. If you can do 500
Right.
push-ups, yeah, it's harder because you're using body weight. If you start lifting heavier weights, you do less reps. It's maybe 20, 30 seconds of hard work during a set. And then, you just build way more muscle. And then when you go to do
Sure.
those push-ups, they're way easier. So it's about having the right guidance, the right knowledge, eating the right things, and getting all that in alignment. This is the hypnotic perspective of it. You have your conscious goals and you have your unconscious programming. If your
Mm.
unconscious programming isn't in alignment with your conscious goals, you'll never get it. I want to get ripped, but I love cheesecake unconsciously. So
Right.
when I see that cheesecake, my emotion's going to go and I'm going to eat it anyways. And I'm going to be like, fuck, why'd I eat that? I just went to the gym. So what I do is I just change the unconscious programming to align with the conscious goals. And now you don't have to think about it. You just unconsciously do it. And that's when there's no resistance. The only time you have resistance is when your conscious mind and subconscious mind are in conflict. When
Right.
you want something, but you don't believe you can get it, or you try to get something and there's something unconsciously pulling you back. That's an inner conflict, right? And there's a why, there's a reason for it. So I just snap my fingers, technically, right? It's literally what I do. I just snap my fingers and I bring that into alignment, and then it works. So obviously it's not just as simple as snap my fingers. I got to put you in trance. I got to put you at the right depth.
Sure.
I got to make sure you're receiving my suggestions. Your mind is in the right state. I have to make sure you're actually as deep as you need to be. And then I give you the suggestion. I test it. I try to see if you're actually feeling that. If I see you're not experiencing the emotion, I continue to work at it. Sometimes I try one way, it doesn't work for someone. I try another way, but there's always a way to get there. I just have to figure out how somebody thinks. And if I could figure out what would get you to change your mind on something, I then use that strategy for you. For example, this is how you get a strategy out of someone. Like, have you ever fallen in love with someone, John?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. And before you fell in love, what happened? What were you thinking about?
I was thinking about probably how good I felt, or what benefits that this
So look,
probably actually I think probably validation, right? I think that's probably the thing that really triggers it a lot of times is like,
great. So what I'm seeing here, right? Your eyes went up. When your eyes
mm,
go up, your mind is accessing an image. So there
mhm,
was an
mhm,
image you saw, right? So you saw the person, and then what did you verbally tell me? You were looking for validation.
right,
So I take that same exact strategy and I
mhm,
associate it with something else. I give you an image of a thing that you want, and it gives you some kind of reward, which is what validation is. And now I've now taken the strategy that worked for you to fall in love. I take that kind of extreme emotion and I associate it to the gym. For example, what would resonate with you in the gym, if I were to hypnotize you, is I would have you imagine yourself looking incredible and then associate it to a few other things like, oh, look at yourself finding love now with the most amazing person. And then I would be like, and not only does that validate you, you feel incredible. I mean, you think about the best emotion you possibly feel. I associate that to that outcome, and all of a sudden you're completely driven to it. And anytime you don't go towards it, you now feel bad because it's taking away from something that gives you a lot of pleasure.
right.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Okay. So I
It's
think I
just
can
creating a new
understand that from,
association.
yeah, like, so because my mindset, right, is one that like I'm training for a 100-mile race this year, and I'm gonna do it. Like I'm committed to it. I'm 100% because I've trained myself, my mindset, that when I set my sights on something, I'm going to do it. I'm actually absolutely going to. But
Fucking right.
it's still hard, right? Like, so I still wake
Yeah,
up in
yeah,
the
yeah,
morning.
yeah.
I don't want to run. Like, I don't want to like, bust my ass. So if I'm understanding correctly, then if you hypnotize someone, for example, that to like lifting weights and eating healthy, you're going to get them to get to the point where maybe they have the same mindset I have about it, where
I'll
where
give you a
they
vulgar example.
okay,
I'll give you a vulgar example. You're fucking a girl, okay?
okay,
Uh, you're getting close to like coming, and you
okay,
get a cramp. Do you
okay, yeah,
stop?
been there, yeah.
You don't stop. You keep fucking going. You're like, I don't
Right,
give a fuck.
exactly.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
finish right now. Right?
right,
If anything, you get more motivated because it's like
right,
shit, like I gotta overcome one more thing. Your body gives you more motivation because there's still
right,
much pleasure at that outcome. Now, it might be hard to do the 100-mile race. You're
right,
still gonna fucking do it because the closer you get, the more invested you are in it, the more you're gonna be like, I'm not stopping now. You
right,
know, you're not a quitter. You don't identify with someone who's quitting. You're so focused on the fact that you're going to win that even if it gets hard, your mind will allow you to keep going, and it'll give you the resources at that time that you need. For example, you'll start thinking about how good you're going to feel at the end. You're going to think about how you could tell everyone that you made this happen. There's going to be
Exactly.
an unlimited amount of resources that your mind will look for and search for to keep you going forward. Whereas somebody who doesn't believe they can do it will always look for reasons for why they cannot continue, for why it's not going to work
Exactly.
out for them, for why they have to give up. Oh, I'm going to get a heart attack. Oh, I don't feel good. Oh, there's no way I can finish this race. I wasn't prepared. This isn't human. No human being can do this, whatever. And then they're not going to do it. So the question is what point are you trying to prove to your mind? Sometimes
Right.
we have a hard time believing that we can get there. And that's what I help people do. I help people experience what it's like for them to actually be at the end goal. Because in hypnosis, it's a lot easier to visualize and experience something as if it's their reality. I put them in that reality. I show them how good that reality feels. I associate it to who they are today. And if they want that and they'll accept that, they'll have that change. If they don't want it, they're never going to get it. They're never going to get it. You have to want it. If you don't want it, I can make you want it, but I can't make you want it permanently. I can make you want it while you're in trance. But if you accept it permanently, you'll have the permanent change, right? Like I can make someone who hates Trump love Trump. And maybe because that's not an everyday thought, they'll just allow themselves to have that. But an identity belief, because that's not an identity belief, an identity belief such as religion or sexuality,
Right.
While you're in trance, I could tell you that guy is the hottest girl you've ever seen, and you'll get it on. You won't care. It's the hottest girl you've ever seen, right? But when you come out of trance, that's a guy to you, and you're not going to like it.
Right.
So
it's just you're seeing it different.
Yeah, it's just when your perception's altered in trance, you're going to have a completely different experience. Now, if it's something that you've wanted consciously, then I just alter the unconscious perception to match that. You're never going to reject it. You're not going to reject it. You're not going to go back and change it. You're not going to think about it in a different way. You're going to continue to be in alignment with what work I've done with you. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not going to force you to change. You got to want it. If you want it, I'll get it for you. If you don't want it, don't waste my time.
Okay. So putting all the pieces together, let's say that you had someone that has a problem. They want to get six-pack abs, right? So at the conscious level, they want it. Subconsciously, they don't, because they want the cheesecake more than the six-pack abs, and they have doubts about it, and all kinds of like issues going on. So you help them to clear all those issues so that the subconscious is in alignment with the conscious. So now in the conscious, they say they want six-pack abs, and now in the subconscious, you've kind of helped them to program themselves to the point where it feels bad to do the things that are moving away from that, and it feels good to do the things that are moving towards that. Now, they still have to go home and do the work, because they're still going to be tempted by the cheesecake from time to time, but they have a bigger vision.
I can make them throw up when they think about cheesecake. I can create an association that like the thing is, this is a lot more powerful. I've made it very simple, but I can create an association to anything in any way I want, as long as they accept it. If they want to throw, like, I'll give you an example. At my seminar, I have to find the video. I have the video somewhere on my phone. My phone's over there. But actually it's over here. I don't know if I can show you. Can I show them the video on here? Pretty much, I hypnotized the guy to quit smoking instantly. He's at my seminar. He's already conditioned to hypnosis. He's seen me do it multiple times. He literally like fell to the ground throwing up, like instantly.
But the thing I guess that I'm trying to get at is, it's like,
look, I don't know if you can see it.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah, let's take kind of.
Wait. Okay, wait. Here, let me zoom in. So I hypnotized him. He just took a hit, and now he's falling to the ground, like about to throw up.
Oh, okay.
Instantly, right? But that's before that caused him a lot of pleasure. Now it's a lot of disgust, right? My point is that your mind. So the way the mind works, just to give you some quick NLP and hypnosis, we see the world through our five senses, and our five senses create different associations through different things. And if you break it down, it's called a submodality, a smaller modality, right? So the modality would be eyesight. The submodality would be the things that are contributing to eyesight. For example, how bright something is, how dim something is, how far, how close, how quickly it's moving, how slowly it's moving. So there are submodalities associated to everything you do, everything you eat, everything you think about, every future experience you have. If I change the submodalities you have of something you like to the submodalities of something disgusting, that tells your brain that now you're coding a different emotion to that specific thing. So in hypnosis, when I just tell you you're disgusted of something, you automatically do that. The mind will just do it for me. But if I walk you through the steps of it, right, using NLP, which is just a breakdown of what we do in hypnosis, you now will experience that disgust towards that cheesecake. Like every time you go to eat that cheesecake, you're going to feel disgusted. It's like if you ever had food poisoning from a place you've eaten at, it takes you a while to want to go back and eat there, or even a food similar, because you've created such a disgusting association to it. And
Exactly.
hypnosis allows me to create a negative association to things I want to create one to, and an extreme positive one. In the same way that you could take a random human being and just obsess over them in your mind, fantasize over them, and now have this insane crush and lust that you'll do anything for them. Like I remember I lost 24 pounds in 1 month for some girl I was in love with, right? And I never even
Yeah.
told her I liked her. I had one conversation with her. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And the same way that you can make that happen, you can make anything happen. I just guide people through that process because if it works for having a crush, it'll work for your outcomes or your goals. And what most hypnotists don't understand is that they're not creating the emotion. They're just telling you, oh, you're going to go do it. But if that
Right.
person isn't experiencing the emotion, they're not going to move forward. Emotion is what drives people into a specific direction. And if they're
Exactly.
not
Exactly.
changing the emotion associated to that thing, you will never get it. Now take hypnosis out of this for a second. Just imagine hypnosis wasn't a thing, right?
Right.
Like it's not even real. The same thing applies to any behavior you have. There's always an emotion associated to something you're going to go get. When you're watching this video, you're watching it because you're trying to get something out of it. There is something this will do for you, either take you away from some kind of pain and fix a problem, or move you towards some kind of pleasure. Now
Right.
this is something people should become aware of. Because pain is a very good motivator. It is a low hanging fruit. It's easy to grab. Problem with pain is that it will only be as motivating as possible, or as motivating for someone, until the pain is gone. So you get over an ex, you go to the gym for 3 months, you get ripped, you're over her, you got another girl, you don't go to the gym anymore, right? Because the pain's
Right.
gone.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like when someone says, I don't want to be fat, you're moving away from a pain. Pleasure is, I want a six pack rather than I don't want to be fat. I want her to regret it rather than I want to feel good in my body, right?
Right.
So when people learn how to change their goals from pain to pleasure, they don't sabotage. They don't start and then stop. They don't go and then no longer move. They have something bigger that they want to move towards. And that's what
Right.
pleasure does. Pleasure allows you to see something in the future that you desire, that you want, that you lust, and then you move towards it because it's something that will fulfill you. And most
Right.
people don't even know how to set goals properly in their minds. So they never get action. Like that's the thing. We were never taught how to set a goal. We were never taught how to have a vision. And I always tell people, like, look, if I gave you a lottery ticket and I told you it's the losing ticket, it is the losing ticket, and you knew it was, and you believed me,
Mhm.
would you even go out and go check it? Of course not. But if you
Right.
knew it was the winning fucking ticket, would you get up right now and go cash it in? Of course. You would stop at nothing to get that because you
Right.
know the
Exactly.
positive outcome. You believe it. Most people don't believe in the positive outcome. How are they going to be motivated? How will you be motivated to take action? How would you be motivated to finish a 100-mile race if you didn't see the positive outcome and believe
Right.
that you can make it happen? And
That's
that's the
yeah.
key.
No.
People need to believe in the positive outcome.
Okay, and that totally makes sense to me. And again, that's a lot of what I do with myself in order to get myself to do the things that I want to accomplish in life is to envision that, to see that positive outcome, to really to make it so that I associate those emotions or even the vision with 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 the thing that I want to do. But I'm still trying to drive at this one point that I think it's worth, I keep on driving here because I want to really make sure I dig into this, which is this idea
Yeah, go
that,
ahead.
so I'll just paint a scenario. Okay, you hypnotize someone that like I said, the six pack ab guy, right? That wants to get six pack abs, and you do everything you can for him to make it so that he now has positive emotions associated with eating healthy, with going to the gym, with all those things, and negative, and maybe even make it so he throws up when he eats cheesecake. It's still not going to be easy mode for him, correct? I mean, he's still going to have to work for it, right? I mean, it's like, and the reason why I asked this question is because, can I just get hypnotized to have six pack abs and then, okay, it's on easy mode. It just automatically is going to happen now and I don't have to do any work? Or is there, because that's the part that I think the most skeptical
Yeah.
about, is like,
So
and it
I'll,
doesn't,
I'll,
it
I'll
doesn't make
explain it to
sense
you.
with the universe to me. You know what I mean? Like
I'll
the
try.
laws
Yeah.
of,
So I'll show you what you're doing. You're
okay.
projecting your current belief system onto his new belief system, right?
Okay.
In the current belief system, you know, and I know that getting a six pack abs, right, would be difficult. It requires you to fucking diet hard, to cut, to go to the gym, work out, do cardio. It's not easy. You're gonna feel tired. You're gonna feel exhausted. Now, it's not easy in this paradigm, but is it easy to fuck it, like while you're fucking a girl? Is it easy to keep going when you have a cramp? Yeah, it's pretty
Right.
fucking easy, right? It's all about the way you look at it. A knife in the hands of a doctor can save lives, in the hands of someone else can end it. And it's
Mhm.
all about the paradigm. So when the paradigm shifts from not being possible to being possible, it would be easier, that's for sure, for them to go do it. they'll be more
For sure.
motivated. They'll have the right emotional states. They're not going to feel lazy. They're not going to feel negative emotion, which makes things easier. Obviously, when you go work out, you might still get tired, but it's the meaning someone gives it. If they start giving that a positive meaning when they're working out, it's going to be easy for them to work out. But if they still think it's hard and dreadful, they may not even end up ever getting the six pack because they don't believe that it's easy. So my definition of easy isn't that you can do it. No, that actually is my definition. My definition is that it's easy to not get a six pack, and it's also easy to get a six pack. It's easy means you can get it done. You can do it. That's easy. Nothing is easy, quote unquote, right? You got to still do the work to get there, but doing the work shouldn't be difficult. It's how you do the work that makes things easier. I'll give you an example. Writing a 10-page essay, 10-page paper. If you focus on the fact that you have to write 10 pages in the next 2 hours, that is not easy.
Right.
But if I focus on it one paragraph at a time, I just got to write five sentences here. Now five sentences there. Before I know it, I got enough sentences to finish all 10 pages. So people have to look at it step by step. I had a client call me earlier today, and they're telling me that they're really angry. They're pissed. They didn't sleep all night. They took 2 Adderalls, and they're just overwhelmed. They're yelling at all their employees because you were used to doing everything on their own, and finally they just opened up a shop and they have 10 employees, and their lack of trust that other people can get it done properly is causing them a lot of anxiety. So they're doing everything. So instead of doing, let's say, 5 jobs a month, he's now doing 40. So that's overwhelming because in his mind, he's doing all of it, even though he has a team that's doing it for him. I told him to calm down and do it step by step. Look, what do we have to get done? We have to do this, this, and this. And what's the most effective emotion to feel in this moment? Feel relaxed. Text me later. He's like, yo, not only we're getting everything done, we're way ahead of schedule, and it's so much easier. I actually am doing less work now that I'm not stressed. I'm like, see? But that's the problem. Most people get in their own way and they see things in the wrong paradigm. It's how you look at it that creates the outcome you desire. So if you want to get a six pack and I hypnotize you, I'm going to try my best. Because remember, I can't do it for them. They have to do it for themselves. But I'll try my best to make their paradigm easier to achieve that outcome. Rather than a huge uphill battle, they just go to the gym. They feel good. They like it. They hang out with their friends. They talk. They laugh. They look good. They get a pump in. They feel great. They go eat with their friends. It's like a fun experience, you know? Rather than I got to go fucking work hard. I hate these gurus that are like, put in the work, work hard, work hard, work hard. Who wants that? No one's going to want to do that. I don't like working hard.
Yeah.
You know? And there are times I do. Like this past weekend, I just had a seminar. I was speaking 13 hours a day, nonstop. 13 hours a day. That's not easy. But I don't care. I love it because that's something I enjoy doing. So it's fun. Like if you're playing basketball, you're an athlete, you love playing basketball. What's something you love to do, John?
I like working hard, but I've convinced myself that I like working hard, right? It's like,
but like what's it, like? Give me like a specific like thing. Like do you like doing videos? Like is it fun for you? Like what is fun for you that you do?
Yeah, I mean it changes from time to time. Like not every day do I want to do videos, but a lot of times I do enjoy doing videos. Give me an example. Right? So yeah, let's say doing a video that I'm passionate about, that I'm into, right?
Fine. So like doing a video for you would be fun. It's not going to be upsetting for you to go do more videos. It's not going to be hard for you to do videos. It's fun for you. For me, you know, like driving my car. I have sports cars. I love driving. People dread driving. I love it because it's fun. You know, other people I know love going on hikes. I don't like going on 7-8 hour hikes. They love it. They live for it. Right. So people put in the work towards things they enjoy. Other people don't enjoy those things, so they don't do them. So you just have to make sure that the emotions that you want to feel, right, the positive emotions are associated to the goals that you want to get. If you want to achieve these things, you got to feel good about them. If you don't feel good about them, you're not going to achieve it. And the reason most people don't have success in their life is because they're doing things they don't want to do, because they're not confident that they could do other things. They go work a 9 to 5 because they went to school. They have to go to college. They hated college. They hate their job. They hate their life. And then they're like, fuck, I hate work. I hate making money. Money is horrible. Obviously, you're going to hate it because you did something you never wanted to do, because you didn't have the confidence to go after the things you did.
Right.
Instead of figuring out, you know, but people take the comfortable route, the safe route. The safe route, fine. Take the safe route. But you're never going to get the things you want being safe. And the truth is, it's more unsafe for me, and this is my paradigm, to do things that I don't want to do and settle than to do things that I would love to do. That to me is the paradigm I choose to live in. I like to live in a paradigm where I do everything I want to do, and nothing I don't want to do. That's my paradigm.
Right. That's interesting, because I mean, I think from that perspective, you could really say that ultimately that's what everyone's doing, right? Because I always, people always say, oh, I have to do this, and I always correct them and say, no, you're choosing to do this. And so if you're choosing to do it,
100%.
you must want to at some degree, right? It's whether you're, because
It meets their
like,
needs. It meets their needs.
right, like the hard work example. I mean, I do have six-pack abs, and I've been, and it's not easy, and and to some degree, it's like, it's a lot of hard work, and I do see it as hard work, and everything with building the business has been hard work. But to some degree, like, even though I don't like doing some of those things a lot of the time, at a deeper level, I must like it because I'm doing it, right? It's like, or maybe it's more of like just how it makes me feel about myself, having done those things and doing those things, rather than in the moment doing those things, is what is
There's a
pushing me and driving
concept.
me.
There's a concept I teach that covers this exact topic, and it's about values.
Mhm.
And your values are pretty much foundational needs that everything you do in your life, you go for. And if your values are being met in the things you're doing, you're not going to change. Because the time we stop doing the things that we want, or okay, I'll give you an example. You're in a relationship, you want it
Okay.
really bad at the beginning. All of a sudden, you start to feel really bad about it. It doesn't feel good anymore. It's because your values are no longer being met. You're in a
Right.
career, you feel good about it at the beginning. You think your values are going to be met, and all of a sudden, you feel horrible. You feel anxiety, you feel pressured, you feel stressed. Your values aren't being met. But the thing is, if you stay there, if you
Mhm.
stay in that career, at some level, your values are being met. And this is the second part of this. There's the criteria, and then there's the value. The criteria is the explanation in your mind for what would meet that value. Now you
Right.
have the perfect situation, which is what you should go for, your ideal goal, and then you have the criteria for what's meeting your values right now. I'll give you an example. I had a client this past weekend at the retreat, and they were working as an Uber driver, living in
Mhm.
a studio, unhappy, right?
Right.
But they didn't want to leave. I'm like, well, why don't you quit? They're like, I can't. I'm like, why not? They're like, I can't. I'm like, okay, so what's that doing for you? And we found out that the guy's value is freedom and security. It gives them freedom because they get
Interesting.
to work whenever they want to work. That was the criteria there. And it gives them security because at least they get to pay their bills for their one bedroom studio. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, what would you want in your life? Like, well, I want to be able to have way more money and do more things and work really whenever I want to work and work less. And I said, okay. And what we found out is that they just weren't confident enough to believe that they can get the actual criteria that they wanted. So their brain rationalized that their current
Mm.
situation met their needs. So they were scared to
Right.
leave. So if you are able to build that self-belief, that self-confidence inside of you, to want the things that you want and get the things you want, you're gonna get it. Like, for example, my highest values. I'm literally giving you the blueprint to my anyone wants to persuade me in anything. This is the blueprint. My highest value is love.
Yeah.
Literally, my highest value is love. The next one is security. Security to me means being able to retire my parents and have a lot of financial abundance. And then freedom is being able to do what I want, buy what I want, when I want, and do whatever I want, whenever I want. Right? Just that's my idea of freedom. Those are my highest values, and everything I do in my life is around those things. Everything I do in regards to love, my entire career is about connecting with others and feeling love and feeling
Mhm.
loved. Right. So my entire career has just been based off of that one thing. Security, I try and make as much money as I can in my career, and I do a lot of. I'm 22 and I'm very successful because of the fact that that's one of my highest values. And then freedom, I work very few hours a week if I don't want to work. I'm working, like, for
Right.
example, I've been on calls all morning. I hung up with a client and then join this right here, right? I'm not. It's not like I'm not working, but to me, it doesn't feel like work. This is something that gives me love, and I love doing it. So
Right.
that's why I enjoy these things. I can do this for hours. It doesn't bother me. And my point is that if your values are being met where you are, stay where you are. If you want to
Mhm.
move forward, you want things to change in your life, you either have to change the explanation, the criteria you give yourself to meet those values, and identify what those values are. What is the number one thing driving you? Use John, a lot of time use the word freedom,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's my
Freedom is
highest
probably
value,
something that's
actually.
important to you.
Yeah, it's my
Yeah,
highest
there you
value.
go.
Yep.
So, and people don't realize if you just listen to what people tell you, you can hear what it is that drives them. So now, if I were to sell something to John, I'll be like, look, John, I have something for you that can give you real freedom. I mean, the freedom that you're really looking for. I have no idea what that is. I just told it to him, and he nodded his head, and he saw what it was in his mind, right? And
Right.
that word means something to him, so he felt it, and that's what drives us. And that's the thing. If the word can drive someone that much, I just find the things that drive you, the things that you want, and I use the things that control you to influence you in a positive direction, just to make things as simple as possible. I take what would motivate you and I use it and associate it to the things that you want, which allows you to go get it.
Yeah, that makes a
So
lot
that's
of sense.
hypnosis.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think of, I was envisioning someone clinging to a rock, right? Like climbing a cliff, and they're going to stay on that rock because it's holding them currently. But even though they need to go to this other rock, it's going to take something to move them to that, if they're already meeting their needs, if they're already actually, hitting, if
Surviving.
it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So even though something else
That's
might be
exactly it.
better. Okay,
That's
so
exactly it.
one last thing I wanted to discuss, if you got time. I don't want to, like, if you got to
Yeah, go
go.
ahead.
Okay,
No, you're good.
which is the other end of it. Okay, which is actually, it's kind of interesting. I think we can, some of the chat we have going on, people are talking about looks and things like that. And I think we can kind of bring all this into one thing that I want to talk about, which is, we've been talking about, like, whether someone should get hypnosis done on them, which I think it seems pretty clear to me that it's worth it for sure.
And
That
the
it's
thing is, you're always being hypnotized. Like, I just want to clarify, like you're being
right,
hypnotized 50 times a day, 100 times a day. You're going into theta 100 times a day. Whenever you zone out, you daydream, you think about your goals, your future, you're not present, you're in hypnosis. All I'm
right,
doing is just taking that thing that you go into all the time and use it to help you. And most people don't use it to help themselves, they just use it to continue to do the same things. But go ahead.
right, exactly.
I want to
Yeah,
hear the question. Yeah.
just like we're just television ads and all the things that are utilizing that.
Yeah.
So okay, so what about the other aspect of it, of learning to hypnotize? So, and I want to tie this in with, are you familiar with Scott Adams, the
No.
creator of Dilbert? So he's actually like a trained hypnotist. He's got this really hot
Is
girlfriend.
he
He's
like
like
some old?
60
Yeah, he's
something.
like this older white guy, right? Yeah, 60
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go. I know who he is.
yeah.
I know who he is.
Right. Okay. Right.
They
So
asked him if hypnosis works, and then you see his girlfriend, and you're like, well, it must work, right?
you're right. Yeah. So it's because, I mean, he's like, he's not like a Dan Blitzerian. Like he's like, your average like 60-year-old guy.
Right.
So and he's got money, but she's got money as well. So so that kind of brings me to the question of, like, should you learn hypnosis, and then how effective is it? And then what are your, like, kind of ethical sort of thoughts about this? Because I'm thinking, okay, a lot of guys that are watching this are like, well, fuck, you know what I should do? Fuck getting hypnotized. Let me just learn hypnosis. Let me just hypnotize girls, and I can just have all these girls like eating out of my hand. And I mean, to some degree, like what you're saying, it makes me say, yeah, that does sound like a possible thing to do. It is possible, but should you do it, and could you, and would it be worth it to you, or would there be something empty in doing that? I mean, I'm asking you this question
Yeah.
because you're in the position to answer
I'll
the
tell you my
question,
perspective.
right? Okay.
I'll tell you my perspective. Number one, yeah, you can do it.
Hmm.
Should you do it? I don't think so. If
Hmm.
you want to find someone who's going to be with you, I think they should be with you because they want to be with you, not because you have an inability to be attractive yourself. So you have to change their perception and make you more attractive. And anyways, if you're not confident in yourself, hypnosis isn't going to work for you. I promise
Right.
you. If you're not confident, I don't care how suggestible they are, you're not going to be able to hypnotize them for shit, let
Right.
alone to pick their nose. Okay, let alone like you. So one way or another, you're gonna have to work on yourself, whether you want this to work or not. That's the first thing. The second thing is using hypnosis on someone you're dating is great, depending on what you're using it for. I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, like, I'm seeing a Victoria's Secret model right now, right? And she's dealt with a lot of trauma, and sometimes it comes up, and she starts crying randomly and things like that. So yesterday, I'm like, look, let me help you out. So I hypnotized her, and completely different person. She's just so much more confident now. She carries herself. Like, she literally, this morning, she texted me. She's like, I have not felt this good in like 10 years. I have not felt this happy in 10 years. And I didn't hypnotize her to like me. It had nothing to do with me. It was just me hypnotizing her to get over all the things from the past. So if you want to learn it, use it to help people. Don't use it for your own gain or your own
Right.
advantage. And that's my biggest thing. And yeah, like, there are times where you could see it. I've hypnotized girls to have orgasms. Tony Robbins started off his whole career doing that, right? But
Hmm.
he doesn't
Yeah.
say it now because it's not politically correct.
Yeah.
But you could do anything. You could literally do anything. It's just, the intention has to be good, or else their subconscious at some level will pick up on it. And if they can pick up that your intention isn't positive and it's selfish, you're not going to have rapport. And when you don't have rapport, you can't really hypnotize them. You need rapport to hypnotize anybody. So if you don't have rapport with someone and you have a negative intention, their mind will pick up on it, and you're not going to get to where you want to go with that. And this is the biggest thing. You brought up looks. Looks don't matter for men. Like, women don't give a fuck about how you look. That's not their wiring. Men care about how they look, which is why you're projecting how you look onto how they see the world. Women don't give a fuck about how you look. They care about how you act. The equivalent to you being with a hot girl is the equivalent to a man who's very confident. The more confident you are, the hotter you are. I have friends who look like Zac Efron and better, taller, better looking versions. They don't get shit. The girls will be like, wow, they're so hot. They talk to them. They're like, oh, I don't want them. Right. And then I go up, I try nothing. I just am myself. And girls are like, who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that guy? And okay, you could say I'm good looking, but it has nothing to do with my looks. I coach guys who are short, fat. One of my best friends, I don't know if you guys know him. His name's Owen Cook, right? He's like, he has a company called RSD. He's a shorter, fat, ginger, balding guy, right? And he had his Asperger's, like a low level autism. And yet he gets more beautiful women than anyone I've ever seen in my fucking life. And he's not good looking by any means. Right. Because of who he is. As a matter of fact, like people are like, oh, well, what if it's because he's successful or rich? As a matter of fact, both of us have found that whenever we post our mansions or our nice cars on our Instagram stories or on Snapchat, we get less girls responding to us than if we're just laughing and being confident, having a good time. As a matter of fact, I don't get anyone responding to me when I post my mansion or when I post my cars. I get nobody interested. Nobody. Right. But when I'm just laughing and I do something that makes me look stupid, almost make fun of myself, girls are like, oh my God, haha, you're amazing. What are you doing tonight? Let me hang out with you. So people have a lot of, like, remember, men, those of you watching this, women are not thinking the way you think. And although we think the same, we don't. Women and men are wired differently. We are wired completely differently. So don't take the beliefs you have. Like, you want a girl to compliment you and you want a girl to appreciate you. So that's what you do to them. They play hard to get, right? That's what they want done to them. They're doing what they want done to them, and you're doing what you want done to you. When you master the game, you stop doing what works for you and you start doing what works for them. That's when you really become good at influencing, persuasion, attraction, and dating. It's when you understand how they work, and that's the biggest thing people I feel are missing is the knowledge and the blueprint for how they work, and also the blueprint and the mindset to allow them to be that guy who can perform on the things that they need done. The things I was so not confident in doing are actually easier and get me better outcomes than the things that I was confident in doing. For example, when a girl plays games with me, I would just talk to her and be like, okay, if she flakes, okay, we'll just hang out later. Now, if a girl fucking flakes on me, I straight up tell her, I'm like, listen, when you want to stop playing games, hit me up. If I'm not already dating somebody else or seeing somebody else, I'll consider hanging out with you. And most guys will be like, that's absurd. How the fuck can you say that? She's not going to like you. And you're right. She might not reply to me. But if she had any interest whatsoever, she's going to come back and she's like, let's go on a date. As a matter of fact, I have never had that not work. It has worked every time. But it will only work if you show them that you're confident and you have boundaries and you're a man. If you're some beta male that just walks around and wishes they give you attention, I don't care what you say, it's not going to fucking work. And if you're an alpha male and you show that you're confident and that you're attractive, I don't care what you say either. You'll still find you attractive. So that's what you have to understand. It has nothing to do with how you look, has nothing to do with anything except for your confidence. And that's the biggest thing. So if you're worried about how you look, trust me, the better looking you are, the more difficult it's going to be for you with women, because they're going to be intimidated by you. They're not going to want to date you. They're going to sabotage it. I have a harder time with women than my friends who are completely unattractive, but they have amazing girls around them all the time. It takes for me to date a girl, it takes a shit ton of effort on my end to make it work, and a lot more knowledge than it used to take when I was less attractive, when I had less muscle, when I had buzz cut and braces and just weird. When I was just weird but confident. I was confident but I was weird. I got more success with women than I have now. Not because girls aren't down for me. I mean, I can hook up with anyone I want like that. That's the easy part. But to get them to fall in love with me and to date me and to actually stick around, it's almost impossible. So when you're very attractive, it's not easier, it's harder. And that's what guys need to understand. It's not a benefit. Being rich does not make your life better in regards to women. It makes it harder. Right. However, you should be rich. It just makes you, the higher up you are, the more difficult it is, because you need someone who's more and more confident.
Exactly. Yeah. No, those are very true statements, especially, I mean, the idea that like the standard that she has for you is so much higher, right? If you're, a good looking guy, if you come in there, now she's going to expect a lot more. Whereas, someone who is not as good looking, there's the standard that girls are going to have, like what they expect out of them is going to be lower.
And you're going to exceed it.
Yeah.
You're going to exceed it. The thing is, it's not that I don't meet the standard. It's that sometimes they're expecting this and I'm over here. And they're like, oh, I don't deserve that. I can't be with that, And my
Right.
point
Yeah.
is it's not about me or him being better looking. Girls don't care. The thing that you think about, girls don't give a fuck about how you look. They don't care. They care about how you act. So I swear to God, I wish I could morph into a different body and just prove to everyone that I would actually get more women
Yeah.
being a, short, ugly, fat guy, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key, is that they don't care. It's literally, I've never met a girl that truly cares about how you look. I used to think that, but they don't. They don't. They actually will probably think you're more feminine. Like they're like, oh,
Yeah.
he's probably gay. Like you look
Yeah.
at gay men, they look amazing. Like we're like, fuck, that guy's so good looking. That guy did his hair, his perfect outfit, his body's amazing, everything's perfect. But that's because they think in the same way that women think, usually.
Yeah.
So and that's why they get along. They're friends, but they're not in love with them. You know.
Yeah. Bait the hook to suit the fish, right? As Dale Carnegie would say. But yeah, no, it's very true. And I'm in agreement with most of that. I mean, I think there is a looks factor to it, but I think that
Initially there is.
yeah, yeah.
I
But I
agree.
think
Initially,
it's
if she
such a
doesn't know, yeah,
small factor. It's a small factor. So many guys emphasize the rest, the looks as the majority factor as opposed to it being the minority factor. And I've also noticed that it's like a lot of like your personality comes across, like you almost transform externally to reflect your internal state. And so you actually become
100%.
better, more good looking when your internal state is correct. Because it's not like when we evaluate a person, we don't just see a still frame, we see an express, like all these micro expressions and all these things that make up that person, and that we can't even perceive, all these little data points. And so that is all reflected from who you are internally and your confidence. Like you said, like you could be an alpha guy,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you say because you're projecting that no matter what, and you can't help but project that. Whereas if you're a beta guy that doesn't have any confidence, you're going to be projecting that no matter what you say, no matter how you dress, no matter how you look.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, women are looking at your looks, your status, your money, your fame, because they believe that's a representation of your internal state of being. Because
Right.
usually, if someone's really confident, they're going to get the things they want. They're going to have that kind of success. So they're associating your looks, your fame, your status initially to that success. And then if they meet you and they see that you don't have that kind of mindset or that state of being, that level of confidence, you're going to turn them off. But if you're some guy who doesn't seem to have all that status, and then all of a sudden you go up to them and you project that, your value shoots up. That's what, I always tell people, attraction equals value. The more valuable something is, the more attractive it is. If you're
Yep.
walking on the sidewalk, you find a dollar bill versus $100, which one are you never going to forget, right? You're going to tell your friends, holy shit, I found $100 on the ground. I don't care how rich you are. You're going to remember that because it's rare. And there's a lot
Right.
more value there, which means there's a greater reward. So if you're that guy who's really confident, you're projecting a lot more value. And then there's a greater reward for even interacting with you. Whereas if you're a guy who's not confident, you're showing her you're not valuable, you're easy, there's no reward, there's no attraction, there's nothing there.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree 100%. All right,
Yeah.
man. Well, guys, if you're watching this, go check out Marczell's channel right now. He's got some awesome content on there. I really like his intro video, his channel trailer. It's really, really pretty awesome. Pretty fun. It reminds me of one of those like the Razor commercial, the Dollar Shave Club or whatever. It's like
That's what I modeled
it's
it.
like,
I modeled it off that. That's what I got.
there we go. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Like, I've seen some people try to pull it off and it doesn't come off very well, but the way that Marczell did it, he did a phenomenal job. It's entertaining. And a lot of his videos, what I like that he's doing in a lot of his videos is he'll have like a couple of hot girls, while he's talking, but he's maintained the focus, and it's like it's interesting because you can kind of see, I think it speaks a lot to his confidence level, because someone who can actually do that and maintain their focus and be focused on you. And then even, I remember one of your videos, there were like, you stepped in some dog shit or there was some dog shit on the ground or something. And you're like, oh, what's that shit? Like, and then you just continue delivering your point, which was pretty cool. So I think you guys will find that valuable, not just in, obviously in what he's teaching, but in how he's actually acting was one of the things that I found.
You'll notice I never cut a video. I will never cut a video. I will speak from beginning to end because I like to show people, look, if I fuck up, I fuck up. I'm just myself. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. It doesn't need to be perfect. And that's the thing. It's just, you'll see it. Every single video I have of me speaking is me speaking from beginning to end, and that's the biggest thing. Also, if you guys want to see more entertainment, like some hypnosis stuff, you'll see. I mean, my Instagram is just my first name. My YouTube is my name. They see my name, I'm assuming, right?
I've got a link down below in the chat for you guys, or in the,
Got
in
it.
the description.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'll probably
In
post a
fact,
video this week explaining more about hypnosis and NLP and doing some demonstrations as well. But I appreciate you having me on, by the way. You know, it's talking to you is always a pleasure. You
yeah,
guys are very lucky to have someone like him, you know, be teaching you guys and learning from him. I think he's amazing. And yeah, I mean, I look forward to our relationship growing stronger and, you know, becoming friends and, you know, even potentially collaborating on things in the future.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I got to see an
Yeah.
in-person hypnosis sometime, or get hypnotized.
Yeah.
So we'll have to make it happen sometime. But yeah, no,
Let's do
appreciate
it.
you taking the time and sharing all this. Like, so many people will not like go to the level that you did. I know I was really asking a lot of like kind of deep questions, but I really appreciate you
I'm
answering them,
happy with it.
because
I like it.
you know,
Yeah.
so many people won't do
100%.
that. So yeah. All right,
Yeah, I mean,
guys.
I'm confident in my material, so there's no reason not to, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, go check out Marczell's channel. Go check out his Instagram and show some love over there. You know, upvote the videos and all that stuff. And yeah. All right. See you next time.
See you later. Yeah, thank you. See you later.